Sometimes, the quietest corners of the forest hold the loudest secrets. Daniel Harper whispered under his breath as he adjusted the straps of his worn backpack, the chill of early morning creeping through his flannel jacket. The mist hung low, curling around the gnarled roots and moss-covered trunks, and the earthy scent of damp pine filled his lungs as he followed Blaze, his 6-year-old German shepherd, whose amber eyes gleamed with alertness and whose ears twitched at every distant rustle. The ground beneath their boots was spongy with fallen leaves, each step releasing the faint scent of decay and life intertwined. The cold air pressing against Daniel's skin like a reminder of how still the world could be when it held its breath. Blaze paused suddenly, tail stiff, nose quivering, and Daniel's gaze followed the line of the dog's alert stance toward a shadow half hidden between two ancient oaks. As they approached, the outline of a car emerged from the mist, its paint faded to a dull gray, moss creeping along its roof and hood, and windows cracked or missing, catching droplets of dew that shimmered like tiny prisms in the weak sunlight. Daniel crouched beside the vehicle, brushing frost and debris from the hood, revealing a faint emblem that spoke of an era long past, and the crunch of his gloves against rusted metal echoed softly in the stillness. Blaze's growl was low, cautious but not threatening, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of instinctual understanding, guiding Daniel toward the passenger side where a glove, yellowed and brittle, lay beneath the seat. He lifted it carefully, feeling the paper tucked inside, brittle as autumn leaves, and unfolded it to reveal a note. The ink faded but legible, its words hinting at a story paused decades ago. The forest seemed to lean closer, the wind whispering through branches as if eager to share its secret, carrying the metallic tang of the car and the subtle, sweet decay of pine needles. Daniel traced his fingers over the note, and a shiver ran through him, not from cold, but from the sense that this forgotten object, abandoned and silent for years, had waited for someone who would notice, someone patient enough to listen. Blaze circled the car, nose to the ground, ears flicking, then padded toward the underbrush, tail low and controlled, signaling Daniel to follow, and together they moved. Through the tangle of roots and ferns, the forest floor soft yet unyielding beneath their boots. Sunlight filtered in thin shafts through the mist, illuminating motes of dust and pollen that danced in the air, and Daniel could feel the rhythm of the forest, the subtle pulse beneath his feet that echoed in Blaze's precise movements. The dog's senses attuned to vibrations and scents that humans no longer noticed. Each step forward revealed fragments of the past, a broken taillight here, a rusted hubcap half buried there, until Blaze stopped abruptly, paw raised, ears erect, and Daniel's breath caught as he noticed a narrow hollow beneath a tangle of roots, dark and inviting, as though the forest itself had carved a doorway to something long forgotten. He knelt, brushing aside leaves and soil, and the cool, damp air rising from the opening carried with it the promise of discovery, a whisper of stories that had slept beneath the forest floor, waiting for the right pair of eyes and the steady guidance of a loyal companion to bring them back into the light. Daniel Harper took a deep breath, the cool morning air pressing against his cheeks as he carefully lowered himself toward the narrow hollow that Blaze had indicated. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves was stronger here, a rich, musty aroma that mingled with the faint metallic tang lingering from the abandoned car. Blaze moved silently beside him, tail low, ears swiveling to catch even the slightest whisper of movement, and Daniel followed the precise rhythm of the dog's steps, trusting instinct and years of patience learned from long walks and quiet observation. As he inched forward, his fingers brushing against the smooth, cold roots that framed the hollow, he noticed faint carvings along the bark, letters and numbers partially obscured by moss, hinting at a story paused decades ago. The light was dim, filtered through the dense canopy above, creating patterns that danced across the forest floor in shifting ribbons of green and gold. Daniel could hear the faint drip of water from an unseen source within the hollow, each drop a steady, almost musical note that resonated in the still air, punctuating the quiet with a gentle cadence. Blaze paused, sniffing a corner where the roots twisted into a small cavity, and Daniel leaned closer, feeling the shift in the air, cooler and heavier, carrying with it a subtle fragrance of wood and soil that seemed to speak of hidden chambers. The narrow space widened slightly as he crawled forward, the walls rough but steady beneath his hands, and he found himself facing a small wooden box, its surface worn smooth, hinges rusted yet intact. He knelt carefully, setting down his pack, and lifted the lid, revealing a collection of objects wrapped in yellowed cloth and tied with frayed ribbons, a set of keys, a folded photograph, and a small journal whose leather cover had softened and darkened with age. The photograph showed a family long forgotten, their faces smiling in a frozen moment of time, eyes bright and full of life despite the years that had passed. Daniel's fingers traced the edges of the journal, feeling the embossed patterns pressed into the leather, and he opened it slowly, the pages brittle and faintly scented with the passage of time. The handwriting was elegant, deliberate, each stroke carrying the weight of careful thought and quiet emotion, recounting days spent in this forest, moments of hope and loss, and a wish that someone would find these memories one day. Blaze rested his head on Daniel's shoulder, amber eyes watching him with an intensity that seemed almost human, as if urging him to understand and respect the weight of what lay before him. Outside, the wind shifted, rustling the leaves above in a soft, conspiratorial whisper, and Daniel could not help but feel that the forest itself was alive, holding its breath in anticipation of what he might uncover. He set the photograph beside him and turned the journal pages, each entry revealing small, intimate details of a life intertwined with this place. The laughter of children, the scent of baking bread, the careful tending of a small garden hidden among the trees, and the unspoken bond between those who had lived here and the land that sheltered them. Time seemed to stretch, each second amplified by the hushed silence of the forest and the steady presence of Blaze at his side. Daniel felt a strange warmth rise within him, a sense of connection not only to the past, but to the living pulse of the forest, to the unseen eyes that might have watched over this place for years. He carefully replaced the items, ensuring they were secure, and looked to Blaze, who nudged him gently with his nose, a silent signal that it was time to move further into the hollow. They continued, the hollow opening into a wider chamber where shafts of sunlight pierced through gaps in the roots above, illuminating dust motes that floated like tiny stars in the golden light. Daniel's heart lifted with a quiet sense of awe, the weight of history and memory settling around him in a protective, almost sacred embrace. Each step revealed fragments of the past, a rusted lantern, the remnants of a chair, a wooden crate filled with tools, each item a testament to a life carefully preserved and patiently waiting to be discovered. Blaze moved ahead cautiously, ears pricked, tail sweeping the floor, leading Daniel toward a corner where a faint vibration hinted at another secret beneath the forest floor. Daniel knelt, pressing his palm to the earth, feeling the subtle tremor, a rhythm that echoed in his chest, and he realized that the forest was more than a backdrop. It was a participant, breathing with the history contained within its roots, leaves, and soil. The sunlight grew warmer, filtering through the canopy in brighter beams, casting the hollow in shifting patterns of light and shadow, and Daniel felt a profound sense of anticipation and reverence. Whatever awaited them further in this hidden place, he knew that Blaze would sense it first, guiding him through the quiet mysteries of the forest with the unwavering loyalty and intuition that had made the dog not only a companion, but a guardian of the secrets they were destined to uncover. The hollow widened gradually, the dim light from above revealing walls lined with roots twisted and gnarled like the fingers of an ancient guardian. Daniel Harper's hands traced the ridges and grooves, feeling the cool, damp texture beneath his fingertips, while Blaze moved ahead with measured steps, nose close to the ground, ears swiveling with intense focus, alert to vibrations imperceptible to human senses. Each breath Daniel drew was filled with the scent of wet soil and the subtle perfume of decaying leaves, mingling with the faint metallic traces from the forgotten objects scattered across the earthen floor. Small shards of glass from the abandoned car outside glimmered faintly where sunlight pierced the canopy, catching on edges of rocks and wood, creating a pattern of flickering light that danced along the hollow. Daniel's eyes adjusted slowly, noticing the delicate outline of a trapdoor partially hidden beneath layers of moss and soil. Blaze pawed gently at the corner, emitting a low, urgent growl that vibrated through the chamber, a signal that prompted Daniel to kneel and brush away the debris. The trapdoor gave a faint creak as he lifted it, revealing a narrow stairwell descending into darkness, the air cooler and heavier as they peered into its depths. He lit a small lantern from his pack, the warm glow casting long shadows that stretched along the walls, and he stepped down carefully, feeling the worn stone beneath his boots and the subtle vibration of the ground that hinted at a larger space below. Blaze followed closely, tail low, muscles coiled, the dog's amber eyes catching the lantern light, reflecting a wisdom born of years of service and silent observation. The stairwell opened into a broader chamber, the ceiling low in some places, but rising into unexpected vaults elsewhere, revealing a secret sanctuary carved by human hands but softened by time and nature. Wooden beams, darkened and smoothed by years of humidity, supported the structure, while patches of moss and creeping roots adorned the walls, giving the room a quiet, otherworldly beauty. Daniel moved slowly, reverently, each step stirring small motes of dust that glimmered in the lantern light, feeling a profound sense that this space had waited decades for someone to recognize its existence. Blaze circled methodically, sniffing, pausing at corners, ears alert, as though confirming for Daniel that every shadow and hollow held significance. In one corner, a rusted metal chest caught Daniel's attention, its surface pitted and marked by time, yet still bearing the faint outline of a lock. He knelt, brushing away the accumulated detritus, and the cool metal under his hands sent a subtle thrill through him. With careful movements, he lifted the lid to reveal stacks of papers, photographs, and a small wooden box, each object meticulously preserved despite decades of neglect. Daniel picked up a photograph, the edges softened and yellowed, depicting a family in mid-century attire, their smiles frozen in an image that seemed to radiate warmth despite the silence surrounding them. He ran his fingers across the journals, reading carefully penned entries that recounted simple moments of life, care, and joy, the words imbued with an intimacy that spoke directly to his heart. Blaze sat close, watching him with a quiet intensity, occasionally nudging an object gently with his nose, as though guiding Daniel toward the next revelation. The lantern light flickered with each small movement, and the forest above whispered faintly through cracks and vents, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth down into the chamber, intertwining with the scent of old paper and wood. Daniel realized that this hidden space was more than a repository of forgotten belongings. It was a bridge between past and present, a testament to care, patience, and the enduring spirit of those who had come before. He placed the photograph and journal back carefully, running his hands over the smooth surfaces one last time, then looked to Blaze, whose steady gaze encouraged him onward, deeper into the chamber where the faint hum of the earth seemed to beckon. The dog's posture shifted slightly, ears perked and tail brushing the floor, signaling a direction toward an alcove partially obscured by roots and time. Daniel followed, heart steady but quickened with anticipation, feeling the thrill of discovery tempered by a quiet respect for the space and its secrets. Sunlight filtering through a narrow crack above traced golden lines across the floor, illuminating a second chest, smaller but equally preserved, hinting at more than mere objects, perhaps a story, a connection, or a blessing left for someone who would uncover it. Each step, each breath, each glance exchanged with Blaze deepened the sense that they were not merely exploring, but participating in a quiet miracle, a reunion of memory, nature, and patient curiosity that had waited all these years to be acknowledged. Daniel Harper took a cautious step forward, the lantern light illuminating the smooth, worn floor of the hidden chamber as Blaze led the way with precise, deliberate movements. The dog's nose hovered just above the ground, twitching at faint scents that Daniel could not perceive, guiding him toward a narrow passage partially concealed by a thick tangle of roots that hung from the ceiling like the draped fabric of an ancient curtain. Each step they took released the faint, earthy aroma of soil and moss, mingling with the delicate scent of old wood and paper that seemed to settle over every surface in the chamber, telling a story that had been silent for decades. Daniel's boots pressed lightly against the stone floor, echoing softly through the hollow space, and the subtle vibrations beneath his feet seemed to respond to the rhythm of his breathing. As they moved deeper into the passage, a cool draft whispered past, carrying the faint fragrance of pine from the forest above and the metallic undertone of old tools and hinges long unused. Blaze paused suddenly, ears pricked, tail stiff, and Daniel followed his gaze to a small, arched doorway carved into the rock wall, the edges softened by age and the gentle creep of moss. Beyond it lay a room bathed in muted sunlight filtering through a crack in the canopy above, illuminating dust motes that floated lazily, catching the light like tiny stars suspended in the air. Daniel crouched, brushing aside a layer of soil and leaf litter, revealing the threshold more clearly, and felt the weight of history pressing gently against his palms, as if the walls themselves remembered the hands that had built this hidden place. Inside the room, objects of quiet significance were arranged with care despite the years. A wooden workbench scarred with use, a collection of jars filled with dried herbs and seeds, and a small bookshelf holding journals whose spines were softened by time and moisture. Daniel picked up a journal, the leather cover yielding under his fingers, and opened it to reveal neat, flowing handwriting that described days of thoughtful labor, simple joys, and the unspoken love for a place that had offered shelter, purpose, and serenity. Blaze sat attentively at his side, occasionally nudging the journal with his nose, as if confirming the importance of each word, guiding Daniel toward the story that had been left waiting. The light shifted slightly as clouds passed overhead, casting moving shadows across the room, and Daniel could hear the faint hum of life from the forest outside, a bird calling in the distance, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the subtle drip of water through the roots above. Each sound was amplified in the silence of the chamber, lending a sacred quality to the exploration, and Daniel felt a deep connection to the lives that had intersected with this place, to the patient care that had preserved it, and to the loyal companion beside him who understood the gravity of discovery without needing words. He carefully replaced the journal on the shelf, noticing a small, locked chest tucked into a corner, partially obscured by a curtain of roots, the metal surface dulled by age, yet still intact, hinting at secrets waiting to be revealed. The air was cooler here, carrying a subtle vibration that resonated through Daniel's chest and into his hands as he touched the chest, and Blaze responded immediately, stepping forward and pressing a paw gently against it, signaling that they were on the cusp of a revelation. Daniel knelt, brushing away dust and cobwebs, and felt the cool metal under his fingertips, a tangible reminder of the passage of time and the care that had gone into preserving these objects. He could sense that each item, each journal, each chest was not merely a collection of things, but a message from the past, a bridge of memory and intention reaching out to meet the present. As sunlight intensified in the chamber, filtering in golden shafts that illuminated the intricate patterns of roots above and around, Daniel felt a quiet anticipation, the thrill of discovery tempered by the reverent silence of the space and the faithful presence of Blaze. Together they stood, a man and his dog, enveloped by history and nature, ready to uncover the final layers of this hidden sanctuary, their hearts steady yet filled with the quiet excitement of what might come next, each step forward a testament to patience, trust, and the enduring power of curiosity in the heart of the forest. Daniel Harper felt a subtle shift in the chamber as the golden light from above stretched across the uneven floor, illuminating dust motes that seemed to hang suspended like tiny, frozen stars. Blaze sniffed along the edges of the chest, pawing lightly at the ground, alert to vibrations that Daniel could feel only as faint tremors through the soles of his boots. He knelt, brushing aside accumulated debris, and as his fingers traced the contours of the chest, he noted intricate carvings, worn smooth by decades, that hinted at care and purpose. With a careful twist, he lifted the lid, the hinges creaking softly, and inside lay a collection of carefully wrapped parcels, bundles tied with fraying twine, their shapes suggesting delicate objects protected from the years that had passed above. He picked up the first bundle, the scent of aged paper and polished wood rising to mingle with the forest air that had seeped through the cracks, and untied it to reveal a small, handcrafted model of a cabin, its miniature walls and windows carved. with remarkable detail, a tangible memory of a place once loved. Blaze nudged his shoulder gently, amber eyes reflecting the lantern light, signaling the next area of interest near the far corner where a faint glimmer caught Daniel's attention. Moving carefully, he discovered another bundle, this one heavier, containing a series of letters bound together with a ribbon that had faded to soft sepia. The handwriting was elegant, deliberate, and each page chronicled days and seasons spent in this hidden space, recounting moments of quiet joy, diligence, and care, the words carrying an almost spiritual resonance, as though the author had written with the hope that someone would one day listen. Daniel read slowly, absorbing the lives and intentions of those who had cherished this place, feeling a quiet warmth settle in his chest as he realized that these items were more than forgotten possessions. They were the legacy of human patience, thoughtfulness, and love preserved in the embrace of the forest. Blaze stepped closer, ears pricked, tail brushing lightly against the floor, as if sharing in the reverence, and Daniel followed his guidance to a smaller alcove where a subtle vibration underfoot suggested another secret. He knelt, pressing a hand to the ground, feeling the steady pulse of something hidden, then carefully shifted loose soil and roots to reveal a small trapdoor, its edges worn and moss-covered. Lifting it revealed a cavity containing a collection of tools, meticulously organized, along with a faded map, the corners brittle yet intact, showing paths and landmarks of the forest in precise detail. Daniel traced the lines with his fingers, imagining the care and attention of the person who had once used them, the dedication evident in every mark, every measurement, and he felt the quiet bond that spanned time between himself, the previous caretaker, and Blaze at his side, bridging decades with shared curiosity and respect. He arranged the discovered items neatly, noting the care that had gone into their preservation, and the sunbeams shifted through the canopy, illuminating a subtle shimmer across the chamber floor, as if the forest itself acknowledged the attention paid to its hidden treasures. The air was alive with the gentle sounds of nature, distant birdsong, the rustle of leaves, the faint drip of water from above, and Daniel allowed himself a moment to breathe in the stillness, feeling the serenity and reverence that this place inspired. Blaze lay down, nearby, chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, watching Daniel with a calm intelligence, and the dog's presence reinforced the quiet sense of companionship and guidance that had brought them to this point. Daniel looked at the accumulated discoveries, the models, letters, journals, and maps, and felt a wave of gratitude and wonder for the care, patience, and quiet hope that had preserved these treasures. The chamber seemed to exhale, the subtle vibrations underfoot softening, and Daniel sensed that their journey had only just begun, that each artifact held a story to be unraveled, a mystery waiting to reveal itself in the delicate interplay of time, memory, and human intention. He stood slowly, adjusting the lantern to cast light across the room, and felt the forest around him, alive and watchful, ready to offer the next fragment of the past to those willing to tread softly, listen carefully, and honor the legacy hidden within its roots and soil, with Blaze faithfully guiding him through the silent, luminous world that had patiently waited for this encounter. Daniel Harper paused, lantern held high, the golden light spilling across the chamber and casting long, shifting shadows over the carefully preserved artifacts. Blaze padded ahead with quiet precision, tail low and sweeping, ears alert, every movement a silent guide through the labyrinth of roots and hidden corners. The air was thick with the mingling scents of damp earth, moss, and aged paper, creating a rich tapestry that seemed almost alive, breathing alongside them. Daniel stepped carefully over a small tangle of roots, fingers brushing against the smooth, worn wood of an old crate, and felt a subtle vibration beneath his feet, a quiet rhythm that resonated deep in his chest, as though the forest itself was acknowledging his presence and guiding him forward. He crouched to examine a bundle of letters resting atop the crate, the paper brittle but the ink remarkably intact, each word conveying thoughtful care and a sense of intimacy, describing moments of daily life, small joys, and careful observation of the natural world that surrounded this hidden sanctuary. Blaze sat attentively at his side, amber eyes reflecting the lantern light, occasionally nudging a letter with a gentle paw. as if to suggest that Daniel read further to understand the story that had been waiting patiently for decades. The sunlight filtering through the narrow opening above shifted as clouds moved, illuminating specks of dust floating in the air and casting delicate patterns on the floor, transforming the chamber into a luminous mosaic of light and shadow. Daniel carefully unfolded another piece of paper, a map of the surrounding forest, its edges yellowed and frayed, yet each trail and landmark rendered with precise care, showing paths that he knew must have been walked and tended by the previous occupant with a quiet devotion to place and purpose. He traced the lines with a finger, imagining the steps of the person who had once moved through these woods, the care in noting each feature, the reverence for every tree, rock, and stream, and he felt a growing sense of connection, a quiet resonance between past and present, human and nature, himself and Blaze. The dog's gaze lifted occasionally toward the narrow entrance of the chamber, alert to the forest sounds outside, a bird call, a shifting branch, the whisper of wind through the trees, each sound amplified in the hush of the hollow space, bringing a sense of serenity and attention to detail that Daniel could feel in his own heartbeat. He placed the map gently back on the crate, then moved toward another area partially concealed by a curtain of roots, where a subtle shimmer suggested the presence of something metallic beneath a thin layer of soil and detritus. Kneeling, he brushed the surface clean, revealing an old, weathered lockbox, its metal dulled by time but still intact, the hinges groaning softly as he lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of small objects, a compass, a pair of spectacles with thin, rounded frames, and a set of handcrafted tools, each item showing signs of careful use and maintenance. Daniel's fingers lingered over the compass, feeling the smooth metal, imagining the hands that had held it and the careful journeys it had guided, a sense of continuity that bridged decades. Blaze sniffed each item, nudging gently, ears pricked, and Daniel smiled softly, aware that the dog understood the significance of these discoveries without words, guiding him through the layered narrative of this hidden sanctuary. The chambers seemed to breathe with them, the subtle hum of earth and the faint movement of air through cracks in the roots creating a rhythm that echoed in Daniel's chest, a cadence that encouraged patience, observation, and reflection. Sunlight shifted again, illuminating a narrow stairwell descending. Further, faint dust particles dancing in the beams, and Daniel rose slowly, adjusting the lantern to light their path, ready to follow Blaze further into the depths of the forest-hidden chamber where history, memory, and quiet miracles waited to reveal themselves in the interplay of light, sound, and faithful companionship. Daniel Harper descended the narrow stairwell with measured care, Blaze close behind, muscles coiled, ears attentive to every subtle vibration, the scent of damp earth and moss filling the air around them. Each step echoed softly against the stone, a rhythm in harmony with the quiet pulse of the forest above, and the lantern in Daniel's hand cast long, wavering shadows along the walls of the hidden passage. The air grew cooler and heavier as they moved deeper, carrying faint hints of mineral and wood, subtle fragrances that seemed to whisper of human presence long past. At the base of the stairwell, the passage opened into a chamber larger than Daniel had anticipated, the ceiling arched in gentle curves and roots interwoven with stone, giving the impression that the room had grown from the earth itself. Dust motes floated lazily in the shafts of sunlight streaming through tiny openings, illuminating the floor in a soft golden haze. Daniel knelt to examine a small wooden crate partially hidden beneath a curtain of roots, brushing away layers of soil and detritus to reveal its contents. Neatly bundled papers, small trinkets, and a handcrafted model of the surrounding forest, carefully rendered with attention to every tree, path, and stream. He traced a finger along the miniature paths, imagining the meticulous care of the person who had built it, feeling a quiet connection to the intentions and love imbued in each detail. Blaze moved to the edge of the chamber, pawing gently at a section of the floor that seemed slightly raised, nose twitching, and Daniel followed, uncovering a thin metal plate embedded in the stone. He lifted it to reveal a shallow cavity, inside which rested a set of tools, worn but well-maintained, and a small journal, the leather softened by decades, the pages yellowed but legible, filled with precise handwriting detailing the rhythms of life within this hidden space. Daniel ran his hands over the journal, feeling the care and thought that had gone into recording even the smallest events, from the planting of a garden to the arrangement of objects, each entry a testament to patience, reverence, and quiet joy. He opened the journal to a passage describing the discovery of a secret spring within the forest, its waters clear and sustaining, and felt the gentle pulse of the forest beneath his boots, the vibrations echoing faintly through the stone and roots, a reminder that life persisted even in hidden corners. Blaze nudged the journal with his nose, amber eyes fixed on Daniel, signaling the direction toward a faint light in the far corner of the chamber. As they approached, they discovered an alcove partially concealed by hanging roots, the floor here slightly uneven, with a hollow beneath the stone slab that seemed almost intentional. Daniel knelt, brushing the surface clean, and found a collection of delicate objects, a compass, a pair of spectacles with round frames, and a small metal box, its surface etched with symbols worn smooth by time. He lifted each item with care, noting the precision and care that had gone into maintaining them, imagining the hands that had once used them and the life they had led in this secluded sanctuary. Blaze sat attentively, ears pricked, tail resting lightly on the floor, and Daniel felt the calm assurance that the dog's presence brought, a silent affirmation that they were uncovering something meant to be found. The sunlight through the canopy above shifted, catching the edges of the metal box and casting a warm glow across the chamber, illuminating the careful arrangement of each object and the intricate pattern of roots and stone that framed the space. Daniel felt a profound sense of awe and quiet reverence, the combination of light, shadow, scent, and history creating an atmosphere of deep connection to the forest, the people who had cared for it, and the loyal companion who guided him through each discovery. He set the items carefully back in place, taking a moment to breathe in the stillness, to feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath him, and to acknowledge the patience, care, and enduring spirit that had preserved this hidden sanctuary for generations, waiting for someone who would honor it. And with Blaze at his side, he understood that every step they had taken, every object they had uncovered, was part of a larger story of human curiosity, loyalty, and the quiet miracles that lay in the most unexpected corners of the world. Daniel Harper stepped back. Slowly, lantern held high to illuminate the farthest reaches of the chamber, his eyes tracing the contours of the walls where roots and stone intertwined in a delicate lattice that seemed almost sculpted by time itself. Blaze moved ahead with measured steps, nose close to the ground, ears alert, tail sweeping lightly, every movement guided by instinct, as if the dog understood the importance of the moment in ways words could not capture. The air was cool and still, carrying the combined sense of damp earth, aged wood, and the faint tang of metal from the objects they had uncovered, each breath filling Daniel's lungs with a mixture of reverence and anticipation. He approached a small alcove where sunlight filtered through cracks in the canopy above, casting golden shafts across the chamber and illuminating a series of objects that seemed deliberately arranged. A collection of journals stacked neatly beside handcrafted models of trees and cabins, each detailed with care, and a set of keys, carefully tied together with a fraying ribbon, resting atop a worn wooden box. Daniel's fingers brushed gently over the surface of the journals, feeling the texture of the paper and the subtle impressions of the writing, the careful script conveying patience, thoughtfulness, and the quiet joy of someone who had preserved these memories for the future. Blaze sat beside him, amber eyes fixed on the objects, occasionally nudging a bundle with his nose, guiding Daniel toward the next fragment of the story hidden within this sanctuary. The chamber seemed to breathe around them, the faint vibration of the forest floor beneath his boots echoing in tandem with the rhythm of his heartbeat, a reminder that the forest itself was a participant in this unfolding revelation. Daniel carefully lifted the wooden box, its hinges creaking softly in the stillness, and inside found a collection of photographs, letters, and a small, intricately carved chest, each item arranged with remarkable care and precision, the scent of old paper and wood mingling with the forest air to create a sense of continuity and life across decades. He unfolded one of the letters, the ink slightly faded, and read words that spoke of devotion, hope, and the attentive preservation of this hidden place, the writing capturing moments of daily life, simple joys, and the subtle beauty of a forest that had been both home and sanctuary. Blaze shifted slightly, pawing at the floor and letting out a soft, approving whine, as if to encourage Daniel to continue. And he felt a profound sense of connection to the history held in this space, to the forest that cradled it, and to the loyal companion at his side who had guided him faithfully to this point. The sunlight shifted again, catching the edges of the carved chest and reflecting in tiny, sparkling patterns across the walls and floor, illuminating the intricate interplay of root, stone, and artifact, creating an almost sacred atmosphere that seemed to honor the care and attention of those who had come before. Daniel gently examined the contents of the chest, discovering a small key, its surface worn smooth by handling over decades, and carefully traced the edges with his fingers, imagining the hands that had touched it, the lives that had intersected with this hidden sanctuary, and the quiet stories preserved within. Blaze rested his head lightly against Daniel's leg, eyes half closed yet alert, providing a steady presence as Daniel contemplated the significance of the discovery, the chamber around them holding the silent witness of time, memory, and devotion. Each object, each shadow, each ray of light seemed imbued with intention, and Daniel understood that their careful uncovering was more than a simple exploration. It was a respectful dialogue with the past, a chance to honor the patience, thoughtfulness, and quiet miracles that had been patiently preserved within the forest. He replaced the items gently, arranging them with the same care evident in their original placement, and looked to Blaze, who lifted a paw, as if signaling that their journey through this secret place was far from complete, that the forest and its hidden treasures still held further stories waiting to be revealed. Each step forward a continuation of the quiet, luminous narrative that spanned decades, connecting human devotion, natural beauty, and the unwavering loyalty of a companion who sensed the extraordinary within the ordinary. Daniel Harper took a slow, deliberate step deeper into the chamber, the lantern light casting long, wavering shadows across the uneven floor and illuminating the delicate interweaving of roots and stone that framed the hidden space. Blaze padded silently ahead, tail sweeping lightly, ears swiveling to catch the faintest sound, each step deliberate, guided by instincts honed over years of loyal service. The air was cooler here, carrying the scent of damp earth, aged wood, and the subtle aroma of paper and polished metal from the artifacts they had already uncovered, blending into a rich, textured atmosphere that seemed almost alive. Daniel knelt to examine a small wooden crate tucked beneath a low arch of roots, brushing away accumulated debris to reveal its contents. Bundles of letters tied with faded ribbon, small carved figurines representing forest animals, and a miniature model of the surrounding woods, carefully crafted with attention to each tree, stream, and rock. He traced the lines of the model with his finger, feeling a connection to the care and devotion that had gone into creating it, imagining the quiet patience of the person who had built it, and the intent to preserve these details for someone who might one day discover them. Blaze shifted slightly, amber eyes reflecting the lantern light, and nudged a bundle of letters with his nose, signaling Daniel to look closer. Daniel carefully untied the ribbon and opened the letters, the ink slightly faded, each word revealing glimpses of daily life in the forest, small joys, meticulous attention to nature, and the deep appreciation for the sanctuary that had been hidden beneath the canopy for so many years. As he read, the sunlight shifted through a narrow opening above, casting a golden glow on the roots and dust motes, making them shimmer like tiny stars suspended in midair, and Daniel felt a quiet awe at the beauty of the space, a reverence for the care and thoughtfulness that had preserved it. Moving on, he noticed a small, partially concealed trapdoor beneath the edge of a root mat, its surface worn smooth and moss-covered. Kneeling, he pressed lightly against it, feeling the subtle vibration of the earth beneath, then lifted it to reveal a shallow cavity containing a set of handcrafted tools, a faded map, and a small, intricately carved box. Each item was arranged with meticulous care, as though the previous occupant had anticipated this moment, ensuring that the objects would survive the passage of time. Daniel examined the map, its lines precise and delicate, showing trails, landmarks, and subtle features of the forest, evidence of careful observation and devotion. Blaze sat attentively beside him, tail brushing lightly against the floor, ears forward, eyes fixed on Daniel, as if guiding him toward understanding. The chamber seemed to breathe in rhythm with them, the faint hum of life beneath. The floor echoing softly, blending with the distant sounds of wind in the trees and birdsong from the forest above. Daniel carefully lifted the small carved box, examining its intricate patterns and feeling the cool, smooth surface beneath his fingertips. Inside were delicate objects, a compass, a pair of spectacles, and small tokens of personal significance, each one a testament to careful preservation and thoughtful intent. He arranged them back in order, mindful of their original placement, and looked around the chamber, taking in the interplay of light and shadow, the textures of roots, stone, and artifacts, and the quiet presence of Blaze beside him. The room seemed alive with memory, a space where history, nature, and human care converged, and Daniel felt the profound connection between the past and the present, the forest and its secrets, and the faithful companion who had led him through each discovery. With a steady breath, he moved toward a faint shimmer in the far corner, the light catching on something metallic beneath the dust, and as he brushed it clear, he realized that another layer of this hidden sanctuary awaited, offering yet another story preserved by time and ready to reveal its quiet miracles. The forest around them a patient, watchful guardian of all that had been carefully hidden and lovingly maintained. Daniel Harper advanced cautiously toward the shimmering corner, Blaze moving silently ahead, muscles coiled, ears swiveling at every faint sound that echoed through the chamber. The air was cooler here, carrying the rich scent of damp earth, aged wood, and faint metallic undertones from the layers of objects they had already uncovered. Each step Daniel took pressed lightly against the uneven stone floor, the subtle vibrations beneath his boots resonating in his chest, a quiet reminder that the forest itself seemed aware of their presence. Blaze paused suddenly, tail stiff, nose quivering, and Daniel followed his gaze to a narrow crevice partially obscured by hanging roots and a thin veil of moss. With careful hands, he brushed aside the debris to reveal a small metal latch, rusted yet intact, and he lifted it slowly, the faint creak echoing softly in the still air, revealing a hidden compartment beneath. Inside, he discovered a collection of small, meticulously preserved objects, a compass with its needle still steady, a set of miniature wooden carvings depicting trees and animals, and several folded letters tied with a delicate ribbon, the paper yellowed but the ink legible, chronicling thoughtful reflections and the quiet routines of life within this sanctuary. Daniel traced his fingers over the carvings, imagining the patience and care of the person who had crafted them, and he felt a profound connection to the dedication embedded in each detail. Blaze nudged one of the letters gently with his nose, signaling the significance of the words, and Daniel unfolded it, reading passages that described simple joys, attentiveness to the forest, and the reverence for the hidden spaces that had been carefully maintained over decades. Sunlight filtered through cracks above, casting warm beams that highlighted the dust motes drifting lazily in the air, creating patterns of light and shadow that made the chamber feel alive, as if the forest itself was celebrating the recognition of its carefully hidden treasures. Daniel placed the letters back gently and moved to examine a small wooden box partially concealed beneath a rude arch, lifting the lid to reveal a set of tools, a faded map, and a few personal keepsakes, each item precisely arranged as though waiting to be discovered. The map displayed trails, landmarks, and subtle natural features, evidence of careful observation and meticulous care, and Daniel traced its lines, imagining the footsteps of the person who had walked these paths and tended this hidden place with quiet devotion. Blaze circled the area, sniffing and listening, guiding Daniel's attention to a corner where a faint vibration beneath the floor hinted at yet another secret. Daniel knelt and pressed his hand to the stone, feeling the pulse beneath him, then gently moved loose soil to uncover a small cavity containing additional journals and a carved wooden figurine. The journals were filled with elegant handwriting that recorded the rhythms of life, moments of joy and reflection, and detailed notes about the forest and its hidden sanctuary. Each word seemed to hum with life, connecting Daniel to the past and the thoughtful care that had preserved this space. Blaze rested his head lightly against Daniel's leg, amber eyes reflecting the lantern light, and Daniel felt the calm assurance that the dog provided, a loyal presence that had guided him faithfully through every discovery. He arranged the journals and figurines carefully, mindful of their original placement, and looked around the chamber, noting the intricate interplay of roots, stone, and sunlight, the faint hum of life from the forest, and the quiet reverence of a space that had waited patiently for someone to recognize its value. With a steady breath, Daniel moved toward a narrow opening leading further into the chamber, the light from above catching on the edges of objects in a subtle shimmer, hinting at additional treasures yet to be revealed. Blaze stepped ahead, nose close to the ground, tail low and sweeping, and Daniel followed, feeling a deep sense of anticipation and connection to the history, the forest, and the unwavering companionship that had guided him to this moment, knowing that each step forward would continue the quiet, luminous dialogue between past and present in this hidden sanctuary. Daniel Harper moved with quiet determination deeper into the chamber, the lantern casting steady beams of light across the uneven floor and illuminating intricate root formations that coiled around the walls and ceiling. Blaze padded ahead, senses alert, tail low and sweeping, ears twitching at the faintest sound, guiding Daniel with the intuitive precision that only years of loyal companionship could cultivate. The air was dense with the rich scent of damp earth, moss, aged wood, and the subtle aroma of preserved paper and polished metal, mingling into a sensory tapestry that spoke of time, patience, and care. Each step Daniel took echoed softly, the vibrations of his boots harmonizing with the natural pulse of the chamber, as if the forest itself held its breath, observing their movements and silently acknowledging their presence. At the far end, a narrow alcove emerged, partially hidden by hanging roots, the edges softened by moss and age, and Daniel crouched to inspect a small, weathered chest, its metal hinges dulled but still intact. He lifted the lid carefully, revealing a collection of letters, small carved figurines, and a folded map that had retained its color despite decades of sheltering from sun and rain. Daniel ran his fingers gently over the objects, feeling the texture and subtle weight of each piece, imagining the hands that had crafted, written, and preserved them, a quiet testament to dedication and reverence for this hidden space. Blaze nudged a bundle of letters with his nose, amber eyes gleaming, signaling the importance of the words contained within. Daniel untied the ribbon carefully and unfolded the letters, reading passages that described daily life, simple joys, careful attention to the forest, and reflections imbued with patience, kindness, and mindfulness of the natural world. The sunlight filtering through cracks above shifted, casting moving beams and shadows across the chamber, illuminating the dust motes drifting lazily in the warm air, each particle catching the light like a tiny suspended star. Daniel continued his exploration, noticing a small trapdoor under a rude arch, the surface cool and mossy beneath his hand, a faint vibration indicating another hidden space. He lifted it to reveal a shallow cavity containing journals, a small carved box, and a set of meticulously preserved tools, each object arranged with thoughtful intention, echoing the care and devotion of the previous occupant. He traced the lines of a map within the box, noting every path, stream, and landmark with reverence, imagining the journeys and routines of those who had once walked these trails. Blaze remained close, ears pricked and attentive, occasionally brushing against Daniel with gentle encouragement, the dog's steady presence a grounding force in the quiet, sacred space. Daniel laid the items back carefully, mindful of their placement, and surveyed the chamber, noting the interplay of light, shadow, roots, and stone, the subtle vibrations of life beneath the floor, and the delicate balance of nature and history preserved within these walls. He felt the profound connection between past and present, the unspoken dialogue between the forest, the objects, and himself, and he understood that each discovery was a bridge across time, a quiet miracle that rewarded patience, attention, and respect. The golden sunlight shifted yet again, casting luminous rays through the canopy, highlighting the delicate carvings, the journals, and the tiny artifacts, revealing in each detail the love, diligence, and care of a life lived quietly but meaningfully. Daniel took a deep breath, the cool, earthy air filling his lungs, and felt a sense of serenity and awe settle over him, the space alive with memory and intention. Blaze sat beside him, alert yet calm, amber eyes reflecting the light, a reminder that their journey through this hidden sanctuary was not only an exploration of objects, but a reverent engagement with a story, a place, and a legacy that had waited patiently for recognition, understanding, and the gentle touch of those who cared enough to listen and observe.